Hey guys, Jason here from Usable Smoke Productions, and in today's video, I'll show you how you can create I/O assignments for all of your mic pre's in Logic Pro. Let's roll. All right, so what we're going to first do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to need to open up our audio and MIDI settings. The reason for doing this is just to double check and make sure that any interface that you're using appears and you have all of the appropriate inputs displaying. This is so that Logic can see what those inputs are so that we don't have any trouble within the Logic software finding any of your mic pre's. So in my case, I have a UMC 1820 interface that I'm using. It's a great interface, by the way. It gives me almost everything that I need. I'm using an extension in ADAT for that, which gives me 8 additional mic pre's. And I'm also using a UMC 404 that gives me 4 additional mic pre's. And with all of that put together, I definitely have more than enough. So I've created an aggregate device. I show you how to create one of those in another video. But I've got everything displaying here properly and everything is set up the way that it should be. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to exit out of that. And I'm going to go ahead and open up Logic Pro. All right, and I'm going to create a new project. And just for the sake of this video, I'm going to create kind of a lot of tracks. Let's just create 10 just for now, 10 audio tracks. And the reason for this is I want to be able to show you how you can assign the different mic pre's and everything with labels in Logic. It makes it very easy to keep track of everything. All right, so first things first, in Logic, I'm going to go to my settings and I'm going to make sure, my audio settings, I'm going to make sure that I have the proper input and output devices selected so that I can assign all my pre's. All right, my input device, I'm going to change that to my multi-input device. That way I'll see all of my interfaces and ADATs. So that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and apply that. All right, so we are good to go. And now, if I open up my mixer window, all of these tracks that I've just created, as you can see here, all that is showing is input 1 for all of the tracks that I have just added. That occurs by default. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm definitely going to be, for multi-track recording, I'm definitely going to be using different inputs at the same time. So I want to make sure that I can make the process a little bit easier than just going input 1, input 2, input 3. It's going to be, that's going to be a little nerve-wracking just in terms of trying to remember what all of my mic assignments are. I don't remember them by number. I actually have all of my mic cables color-coded and labeled with the instrument or instruments that they are capturing. So it just kind of helps me stay organized in my studio, and I want to be able to stay organized in my DAW as well. So how to do that? We go ahead and we click at the top of your screen. You're going to click on Mix, and you're going to go to I/O Labels. All right, so by default, everything is listed just as input 1, 2, and so forth. And you also have all of your outputs listed here. And you have all of your buses and everything. I wonder how far this goes down. Okay, so it goes down to 256. But you can also label your buses and all of that as you, as you get going in your project. It allows you to customize the name of each input, both as a long name and also as a short abbreviated name. I'll show you how to do both of these and how they display, so you may choose one over the other. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of these listed. So I'm going to go ahead, my first input on my first interface for my UMC 1820 is an SM57 microphone that I use for I use that for my tutorial work. Okay, so it's my main go-to microphone. The second input I use for recording vocals, and right now I have an SM58 assigned to that input. Um, I use a cloud lifter with both of those, and I get some good results with setting my gain levels and all of that good stuff. All right, input 3 in my interface. This is going to be my, I have a worker bee microphone that I use for my overhead left. I use it as a drum mic. And I have the same thing for my overhead right microphone. Those are really great multi-purpose microphones. And out of all the overhead mics that I've tried, I'm getting the best results with that microphone. It's really, really good and very affordable, very reasonable. Okay, my next microphone is actually from 12 gauge microphones, and I am using, they're called Green 12s, and I'm using them for my, I'm just going to go ahead and go like this, make it a little easier. I'm using that for my hi-hat, and I'm also using a Green 12 for my ride cymbal. All right. I am using for my room mic, I'm also using the 12 gauge microphone, and I'm using a Red 12. This is for my left room. And I use a Red 12 for my room right. All right. So what's pretty cool about those 12 gauge microphones is the green is the condenser mic, a vented condenser mic, and the reds are Omni mics, and they're really, really cool mics that have been they're actually repurposed shotgun shells, believe it or not, that have been made into microphones. So those are actually really, really cool mics. I recommend that you check them out. All right. So this SPDIF, I'm not utilizing that for anything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to proceed along with my next input. This is for my ADAT extender. So I've got my, I'm using an Audix D6 for my kick. And for my next one, I'm using an SM57 for my snare top. I'm using an SM57 for my snare bottom. And these other ones here, these are my toms. So I have a 10-inch tom, and let's see, make sure I'm consistent with the way I'm labeling these. This is going to be an Audix D2. And I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this because I'm using a lot of those mics for my toms. All right, so I've got a 12-inch tom I'm using a D2 for. I've got a 14-inch tom that I'm using a D2 for. And I'm actually using for my 16-inch tom, I'm using a D4. All right, cool. Let's see, my next input here. Let me see if I've got all of this correct here. 10, 12, 14, 16. Oh, yes, my last one on the ADAT here. I'm using a Shure 565, and I'm utilizing that as a trash mic. So I basically have that out in front of my kit, and I compress the heck out of it, get some really good results out of that. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so now this next input here, where it says in 1, 2, 3, 4, that's for my other interface. And basically how I have that set up is I've got a couple of 57s for my Maggie amp. I have an old Magnatone amp, and it's a 2-channel amp, so I'm able to record it in stereo if I wish for some cool tremolo effects and all that good stuff. So I have that assigned like that. And these other two, I've got my, I'm forgetting what mic I actually used there. Okay. It's Audio-Technica 2020, and I'm using that for my bass amp. All right, and this last one here, let's see. I'm using as my DI guitar in. So DI guitar. All right, cool. So I've got everything that I use labeled here, and I've got the long names listed. So you don't have to worry about saving this. It automatically will save, and you can use it in every project. Even if you open up, multiple projects, it'll have all of your assignments listed here, and you can use it from one to the next. Unless, of course, you have to reinstall Logic like I did and have to redo everything the way that I'm doing right now. But you can go ahead and close out of that. And now when you go to your mixer window, you'll see that everything here, instead of input 1, it's displaying as an SM57. Okay. If I create the longer view here, let's see. There we go. So you can then assign however you want to, just like this. Okay. And that's how you can assign each one here based on how you've inputted it. Now, as you can see, as I am titling this, it may not be super helpful to you to use those long descriptors as I did. So what you might want to do, you can go back into your I/O labels, and what you might want to do is you may want to distinguish the purpose and the type of microphone that you use. So for example, if I just want to get rid of this, overhead left, overhead right, and maybe over here, type in WB, for my worker B microphone and so forth. This might be a little bit more useful to you, because when you are seeing them displayed like this is a little easier to keep track of. Okay, input 3, okay, I'm going to be using that as my overhead left, so I'm going to go ahead and select it, and here it displays the short version. Okay, or if you don't like that, you can actually kind of reverse what we just did. So the long name, maybe it's going to be worker B, and you can have the long name as whatever kind of mics you're using. And then for the short, you can list what the purpose of it is. Okay, so overhead left, overhead right. Whoa, let's fix that. There we go. Okay, so now when I go back over here, there we go, overhead left, input 3, worker B. So it allows you to kind of organize how you have things listed here. Now, again, if you're anything like me and you're going to, label your tracks, speaker mic, we'll just call this Vox, right? This here, we're going to call this overhead. Left, overhead right. This just allows you to keep track of things very easily. And again, in my case, what I've done many times, way too many times to count, I've been working on a project, and for some reason, I record, I'm trying to track something, multi-track recording. Maybe I'm sitting behind the drums and I'm, laying something down, and I go back to playback and something sounds a little off. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what is going on here? And I pull up my mixer window and I look over here and I go, oh my gosh, my overhead microphone was actually assigned to the wrong input. It was assigned to my kick drum instead. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to spend less time, looking at my cables, double checking if something's plugged in, and so forth. I just get to go, okay, wait a minute, it's the wrong mic assignment. That's supposed to be my my overhead, worker B mic, and now I've fixed the problem with, right in the DAW, looking at my I/O assignments. So there's a lot of good reasons for doing this. It's a little bit of work to get started, but once you do it, it's definitely worth it. So anyway, I hope that you found this video helpful and useful. If so, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And again, I hope to have helped you just a little bit, some of the trial and error that I've experienced. I'm hoping to kind of share those learning experiences with you so that you can make faster progress in Logic. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Take care. And again, please like and subscribe. Bye.